Now I'm going to go to our next panelist, Blair Duncan. So we're really excited to have Blair. He is the president and CEO of the Upper Manhattan Empowerment Zone Development Corporation, also called UMEZ, which is a federal initiative to revitalize urban communities. Mr. Duncan began at UMEZ in 2003 as the general counsel, and he has increased his levels of responsibility managing the operations of the organization and structuring transformative commercial and mixed-use developments in Upper Manhattan. So Mr. Duncan plays a key role in providing capital access to neighborhood small businesses and designing grants for cultural institutions in the area. So main thing, funding, support, which is very exciting. So Blair, I'd love for you to kind of provide an overview of the Upper Manhattan Empowerment Zone and how it supports small businesses in New York City.
Thank you, Katie. And before I start, I just have to say that I'm pleased that we have two Midwesterners, both Katie and Paige. I grew up in Detroit, and the two things you know about Detroit are that they make cars and produce great music. Since any people have been following the election certifications in Michigan, know one other thing about Detroit, and that is that it is in Wayne County. So that was something that no one ever really paid attention to outside of Michigan until now. So, I'm happy to be part of this and with my Midwestern peers as well. UMEZ has been operating for 25 years now. It was originally a 10-year designation period. And the reason we've been able to operate is because we've been making investments as well as grants, and the investments have been in the form of loans. They've repaid. We've used those funds to continue to invest and really help to institutionalize the organization. And the goal of UMEZ is really to help residents of Harlem, small businesses, nonprofits, really reach their potential. And we do that in a few different ways. We make loans to small businesses. We make grants to cultural organizations. We invest in workforce opportunity programs, as well as we make transformative real estate construction loans, a wide variety of things. And, people 3 years ago, 2 years ago would always stop by and say, well, Blair, looking at Upper Manhattan, is the work of UMEZ done? Have you really, we look at the community, is everything completed now? And can you guys just pack up and go home? And my statement then was, no, we still have more to do. And that's even more reinforced today, is that, it's important to have the institution here to really be able to help small businesses, to help nonprofits, and really the residents here, many of whom have been hit extremely hard by COVID and the results of the pandemic. And that's really reverberated through the small businesses and cultural organizations as well. We are forced to adapt to a changing environment, to come up with changing programmatic solutions for the business and nonprofit worlds, as well as workforce opportunity investments. I can go into more detail. I'll just kind of stop at that point before I talk about any specific programs we're working on, to see if there are any questions, or Katie, I don't know how you wanted to structure the rest of the rollout.
Yeah, awesome. No, I appreciate that. And if anyone does have any questions, feel free to type it in the chat, or we have some buttons at the bottom. You might see a little smiley face that says reactions. If you want to do a thumbs up or a clap or anything, just so I can see to unmute you if any questions do come up. But I am not seeing that in, oh, I see. Okay, Lauren, I'm going to unmute you, Lauren. You have a question. Hey, you're unmuted.
Oh, hey, no, I actually don't have a question, just clapping, because I think what Blair is doing is really great, and I'm really just glad to find out about it, because I didn't know. So will you also be putting everybody's like URL and all that in the chat after, Katie, or in a follow-up email?
Yeah, that's a great question, Lauren. I'll definitely, with these resources, I will share in a follow-up email. We also have a resource toolkit for our small business grantee partners with some other resources, so I'll be sharing that as well. So thank you so much for asking that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And I know that Rasan had, started out saying that the $5,000 grants are just a token. But I mean, I think that there's so much demand and outstrips the supply of capital that every contribution, every program is really helpful to small businesses. Many are looking for grants just to kind of give them that initial boost, and then they can approach funders for loans. But it should not be underestimated the impact of grant capital, and it really is helpful. And one of the things that you talk about access to resources. This is one forum. On the UMES website, we have a whole list of COVID resources for small businesses and nonprofits. I encourage participants to go to that site. We work closely during the initial stages of the pandemic to work with small businesses for the Paycheck Protection Program loans. I mean, one of the things we found is that just like the individuals who were in the community, it was slow to get the information about what's happening in the pandemic, slow to get people to wear a mask, slow to get people to social distance. Well, the same thing you saw with small businesses and nonprofits, in that first round of PPP loans were all exhausted before anybody really knew, well, what's this program? Who do I go to? How do I apply? So we're not an SBA lender, but we do partner with small business lenders through some of the community banks here. And we put together a program to provide technical assistance to those businesses so that at least in the second round, they could apply. And we referred a number of businesses. And one of the things we saw was that the size of some of these Paycheck Protection programs were smaller than we had anticipated, maybe around $20,000, some as small as $5,000, which signaled to us that there was a need for micro lending. These are loans under $50,000, and that's something UMES never did before. We always were looking at loans $50,000 to $250,000 or larger. We left the small business loans to other providers, but we saw that there was a need for that. And so we then adapted to create a program that we just launched a couple weeks ago for small businesses, a hybrid microloan program that provides interest only loans for the first year. Second year, they pay principal and interest. And if they meet certain requirements in that fifth year, 25% of that original loan will be forgiven. And that product is up on our website. That's available to small businesses and nonprofits. You also mentioned small, entrepreneurs in culture and arts. We have a partnership with the Lower Manhattan Cultural Council for arts grants for individual artists, unincorporated collectives, up to $10,000. And that program is this is the fourth year. The next cycle will be accepting applications probably in the summer for 2022 performances and presentations. We're already took the applicants for this round, and we're evaluating them in 2021. But that's the type of thing where, again, another resource. One thing to note is that we are catchment bound. We are Upper Manhattan, so think of north of 110th Street on the west side, north of 98th Street on the east side, and kind of hug the Harlem River and then down to the Hudson. So that East Harlem, Central West Harlem, Washington Heights, and Inwood. So I'll pause there again. I know I've said a lot.
Awesome. Thank you. These resources are amazing in terms of not only potential microloan programs that some of our grantees do fall into that catchment area for even more funding, but also having that resource list on your website is a really kind of a great connection for groups. I wonder, and I know I haven't asked you this before, so not to put you on the spot, but since your catchment area is in Harlem, do you know of any other groups that might be doing similar things that you're doing in other areas that our grantee partners might like to know about. And if you don't, that's okay.
Oh, sure. And in fact, with our microloan program, we are partnering with the Harlem Business Alliance,
Okay.
which is in Central Harlem, and the Washington Heights Inwood Development Corporation, which is in Washington Heights. The group that I would refer people to in East Harlem is Union Settlement. We will be working with them, but right now they're administering a grant program for the city council person there, and they are just taxed and expect that that will take them through the end of this quarter, part of first quarter, and then they'll be able to work with us in helping screen applicants for our program. So those three groups are ones I would suggest in Upper Manhattan.